Mined inorganic fertilizers have been used for many centuries, whereas chemically synthesized inorganic fertilizers were widely developed during the Industrial Revolution. Increased understanding and use of fertilizers were important parts of the pre-industrial British agricultural revolution and the industrial green revolution of the 20th century. Inorganic fertilizer use has also significantly supported the global population growth. It has been estimated that almost half the people on earth are currently fed as a result of synthetic or chemical nitrogen fertilizer use. Now let us look at how fertilizers provide nutrients in varying proportions to the plant. The 6 macronutrients, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulfur. It provides 8 micronutrients, that is boron, chlorine, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, zinc and nickel. The macronutrients in plants are consumed in larger quantities and are present in plant tissues for quantities from 0.15% to 6% on a dry matter basis. Micronutrients are consumed in smaller quantities and are present in plant tissues on an order of parts per million ranging from 0.15 to 400 parts per million or less than 0.04 parts per million. Only 3 structural elements are required by all plants, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. These nutrients are supplied by water through rainfall or irrigation and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now first let us look at how to name a chemical fertilizer. In the US and Canada, the labeling scheme presents 3 numbers separated by dashes. The first number represents the percentage of nitrogen in the product. The second number, the phosphorus, and the third is the potassium. The generalized form is N-P-K. A 50-pound bag of fertilizer is labeled 16-4-8 contains 8 pounds of nitrogen, 2 pounds of phosphorus and 4 pounds of potassium. Fertilizers are broadly divided into organic fertilizers, which are composed of organic plant or animal matter, or inorganic or commercial fertilizers. Plants can absorb their required nutrients if they are present in easily dissolved chemical compounds. Both organic and chemical fertilizers provide the same needed chemical compounds. Organic fertilizers provided other macro and micro plant nutrients are released as the organic matter decays. This may take months or years. Organic fertilizers nearly always have much lower concentrations of plant nutrients and have the usual problems of economical collection, treatment, transportation and distribution. On the other hand, chemical fertilizers nearly always are readily dissolved unless added, have fewer the macro and micro plant nutrients, nor add any bulk to the soil. Nearly all nitrogen that plant uses is in the form of NH3 or NO3 compounds. The usable phosphorus compounds are usually in the form of phosphoric acid, and potassium is the typical in the form of potassium chloride. In organic fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium compounds are released from the complex organic compounds as the animal or plant matter decays. Whereas in chemical fertilizers, the same required compounds are available in easily dissolved compounds that require no decay. They can be used almost immediately after water is applied. Chemical fertilizers are usually much more concentrated, with up to 64% of their weight being a given plant nutrition, compared to organic fertilizers which provide only 0.4% or less of their weight as a given plant nutrient. Nitrogen fertilizers are often made using the Haber-Bosch process, which was invented in 1909, which uses natural gas CH4 for hydrogen and nitrogen gas from the air at an elevated temperature and pressure in the presence of a catalyst to form ammonia as the end product. This ammonia is used as feedstock for other nitrogen fertilizers such as anhydrous ammonium nitrate and urea. These concentrated products may be diluted with water to form a concentrated liquid fertilizer. Deposits of sodium nitrate are also found in the Atacama Desert in Chile and was one of the original nitrogen-rich inorganic fertilizers used. It is still mined as a fertilizer, but this is a natural fertilizer even though it is inorganic. In the nitrophosphate process or the ODA process, which was invented in 1927, phosphate rock with up to a 20% phosphorus content is dissolved with nitric acid to produce a mixture of phosphoric acid and calcium nitrate. This can be combined with a potassium fertilizer to produce a compound fertilizer with all three NPK, plant nutrients, in easily dissolved form. Phosphate rock can also be processed into water-soluble phosphate with the addition of sulfuric acid to make the phosphoric acid into phosphate fertilizers. Phosphate can also be reduced in an electric furnace to make high purity phosphorus. However, this is more expensive than the acid process. Potash can be used to make potassium fertilizers. All commercial potash deposits originally came from marine deposits and are often buried deep in the earth. Potash ores are typically rich in potassium chloride and sodium chloride and are obtained by conventional shaft mining with the extracted ore ground into powder. For deep potash deposits, hot water is injected into potash which is dissolved and then pumped to the surface, which is concentrated by solar induced evaporation. Compound fertilizers often combine nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium fertilizers into easily dissolvable pellets. The NPK ratios quoted on the fertilizers gives the weight percent of the fertilizer in nitrogen, phosphate and potash equivalents. The use of commercial inorganic fertilizers has increased steadily in the last 50 years, rising almost 20 folds to the current rate of 100 million tons of nitrogen per year. Without chemical fertilizers, it is estimated that about 1/3 of the food produced now could not be produced. The use of phosphate fertilizers has also increased from 9 million tons per year in 1960 to 40 million tons per year in 2000. A maize crop yielding 6 to 9 tons of grain per hectare requires 31 to 50 kg of phosphate fertilizer to be applied. Soya bean requires 20 to 25 kg per hectare. Yara International is the world's largest producer of nitrogen-based fertilizers. In 1960s, the National Fertilizer Development Center began developing sulfur-coated urea. Sulfur was used as the principal coating material because of its low cost and its value as a secondary nutrient. Usually, there is another wax or a polymer which seals the sulfur. The slow release properties depend on the degradation of the secondary sealant by soil microbes as well as by mechanical imperfections like cracks in sulfur. They typically provide 6 to 16 weeks of delayed release in turf applications. When a hard polymer is used as a secondary coating, the properties are a cross between diffusion control particles and traditional sulfur coated. Other coated products use thermoplastics and sometimes ethylene vinyl acetate and surfactants. These are used to produce diffusion controlled release of urea or soluble inorganic fertilizers. Reactive layer coating can produce thinner, hence cheaper, membrane coatings by applying reactive monomers simultaneously to the soluble particles. A multi-coat is a process of applying layers of low-cost fatty acid salts with paraffin top coat. Besides being more efficient in the utilization of the applied nutrients, slow release technologies also reduce the impact on the environment and the contamination of a subsurface water. Application. A synthetic or a chemical fertilizers are commonly used for growing all crops with application rates depending on the soil fertility, usually as measured by a soil test and according to the particular crop. Legumes, for example, fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and generally do not require nitrogen fertilizer. Some studies have shown that application of nitrogen fertilizer on off-season cover crops can increase the biomass and subsequent green manure value of these crops, while having a beneficial effect on soil nitrogen levels for the main crop planted during the summer season. Nutrients in soil can be thrown out of balance with high concentrations of fertilizers. The interconnectedness and complexity of the soil food web means any appraisal of soil function must necessarily be taken into account interactions with the living communities that exist within the soil. Stability of the system is reduced by the use of nitrogen containing fertilizers which cause soil acidification. Applying excessive amount of fertilizer has negative environmental effects and wastes the grower's time and money. To avoid over application, the nutrient status of crops should be assessed. Nutrient deficiency can be detected by visually assessing the physical symptoms of the crop. Nitrogen deficiency, for example, has a distinctive presentation in some species. However, quantitative tests are more reliable for detecting nutrient deficiency before it has significantly affected the crop. Both soil tests and plant tissue tests are used in agriculture to fine-tune nutrient management to the crops needed. Water pollution. These fertilizers or nutrients, especially nitrates, can cause problems for natural habitats and for human health if they are washed off soil into watercourses or leached through soil into groundwater. By encouraging farmers to manage their land more sustainably in catchment sensitive farmings. In the US, excessive fertilizer runoff is classified as a non-point source pollutants due to the inability to quantify the amount entering bodies of water in shallow aquifers. The next problem is contamination with impurities. Common agricultural grade phosphate fertilizers usually contain impurities such as fluorides, cadmium and uranium. Although concentrations of cadmium and uranium, which are the heavy metals, are dependent on the source of the phosphate and the production process. These potentially harmful impurities can be removed. However, this is very costly. High pure fertilizers are widely available and perhaps best known as highly water soluble fertilizers containing blue dyes used around households. These highly water soluble fertilizers are used in the plant nursery business and are available in larger packs at significantly less cost than in retail quantities. There are also some inexpensive retail granular garden fertilizer made with high purity ingredients. Oregon and Washington in the US have fertilizer registration programs with online databases listing chemical analysis of fertilizers. The most widely used chemical fertilizer is superphosphate and its double and triple strengthened derivatives, double super and triple super. Superphosphate was first developed by Lawes at the Rothamsted Agricultural Research Institute in England early in the 19th century. Lawes added sulfuric acid to conventional rock phosphate containing the mineral apatite, which is a calcium fluorophosphate. The resulting water-soluble phosphorus was able to significantly improve yields on a variety of crops at the Rothamsted Center, and the superphosphate industry was born. Unfortunately, over decades of subsequent usage, it became clear that the solubilization of fluorine also occurred in the process, and this had the same effect as the other halogen sterilants such as chlorine, bromine and iodine over time, thus leading to soil sterilization. The next problem of using a chemical fertilizer is the dependency. Effectively, farmers unknowingly became 100% dependent on brought-in water-soluble inorganic fertilizers, since the sterilization of soil microflora including mycorrhiza reduced the availability of other natural and trace minerals within the soil. This to some extent explains the resurgence of interest in organic and particularly biodynamic farming systems, since these systems replace the soil organisms essential in converting soil minerals into plant available nutrients. They do this by a variety of processes including chelation, whereby essential minerals become plant available, as measured by weak citric acid extraction techniques. Hence, the citric acid solubility of phosphate rocks has emerged as a measure of plant availability and enabled so-called reactive phosphate rocks to be used as fertilizer minerals. These should not be confused with high fluorine apatite rocks, in which fluoride content performs a similar function to its role in hardening teeth enamel, that is immobilizing phosphorus. The next problem is soil acidification. Regular use of acidulated fertilizers generally contribute to the accumulation of soil acidity in soils, which progressively increases aluminum availability and hence toxicity. The use of such acidulated fertilizers in the tropical and semi-tropical regions of Indonesia and Malaysia has contributed to soil degradation on a large scale from aluminum toxicity. This can only be countered by application of limestone and preferably magnesium dolomite, which neutralizes acid soil pH and also provides essential magnesium. The next problem of using a chemical fertilizer is trace mineral depletion. Many of these chemical fertilizers, particularly those based on superphosphate, may not replace trace mineral elements in the soil, which become gradually depleted by crops. This depletion has been linked to studies which have shown a marked fall, which is up to 75% in quantities of such minerals present in fruits and vegetables. Explanation for this include the early encouragement of so-called luxury consumption of trace elements as a result of their acidulation and subsequent dissolution in soil water by free sulfuric acid sourced from superphosphate. This mechanism has also been identified as a possible causal agent for take-up of heavy metal cadmium from superphosphate based fertilizers. Next problem of using a chemical fertilizer is over-fertilization. Over-fertilization of a vital nutrient can be as detrimental as under-fertilization. Fertilization burn can occur when too much fertilizer is applied, resulting in drying out of the leaves and damage or sometimes even death of the plant. Fertilizers vary in their tendency to burn roughly in accordance with their salt index. The next problem with chemical fertilizers are high energy consumption. Ammonia is overwhelmingly produced from natural gas, but other energy sources together with a hydrogen source such as water can be used for the production of nitrogen compounds suitable for fertilizers. The cost of natural gas marks up for about 90% of the cost of producing ammonia. The increase in price of natural gases over the past decade, along with other factors such as increasing demand, have contributed to an increase in the fertilizer price. The next problem is lack of long-term sustainability. Chemical fertilizers are now produced in ways which theoretically cannot be continued indefinitely by definition, as the resources used in their production are non-renewable. Potassium and phosphorus come from mines or saline lakes such as the Dead Sea, and such reservoirs are limited. However, More effective fertilizer utilization practices may decrease present usage from mines. Improved knowledge of crop production practices can potentially decrease fertilizer usage of phosphorus and potassium without reducing the critical need to increase crop yields. Atmospheric nitrogen is effectively unlimited, but this is not in the form which is useful to plants. To make nitrogen accessible to plants, which requires nitrogen fixation of atmospheric nitrogen, 2 and artificial nitrogen fertilizers are typically synthesized using fossil fuels such as natural gas and coal, again which are limited resources. In lieu of converting natural gas to syngas for use in the Haber process, it is also possible to convert renewable biomass to syngas or wood gas to supply the necessary energy for the process, though the amount of land and resources necessary for such a project may be prohibitive. The first one is eutrophication. The nitrogen-rich compounds found in fertilizer runoffs are the primary cause of serious oxygen depletion in many parts of the ocean, especially in coastal zones. The resulting lack of dissolved oxygen is greatly reducing the ability of these areas to sustain oceanic fauna. Visually, water may become cloudy and discolored. It could be green, yellow, brown or red. About half of all the lakes in United States have become eutrophic, while a number of ocean dead zones near inhabited coastlines have also increased. As of 2006, the application of nitrogen fertilizer is being increasingly controlled in Britain and in United States. If eutrophication can be reversed, it may take decades before the accumulated nitrates in the groundwater can be broken down by natural process. The next is something called as the blue baby syndrome. High application rates of inorganic nitrogen fertilizers in order to maximize crop yields combined with the high solubilities of these fertilizers leads to increased runoff into surface water as well as leaching into groundwater. The use of ammonium nitrate in inorganic fertilizer is particularly damaging as plants absorb ammonium ions preferentially over nitrate ions, while excess nitrate ions which are not absorbed dissolve into runoff or groundwater. Nitrate levels above 10 mg per liter, which is 10 parts per million in groundwater, can cause blue baby syndrome. Blue baby syndrome is acquired methemoglobinemia, which leads to hypoxia and which can lead to coma and death if not treated. The next environmental problem is heavy metal accumulation. Steel industry wastes recycled into fertilizers for their high level of zinc, essential for plant growth. Wastes can include the following toxic metals: lead arsenic, cadmium, chromium and nickel. The most common toxic elements in this type of fertilizers are mercury, lead and arsenic. Let us now look at the effects of a chemical fertilizer on the atmosphere. Methane emissions from crop fields are increased by the application of ammonium-based fertilizers. These emissions contribute greatly to global climate change as methane is a potent greenhouse gas. Through the increasing use of nitrogen fertilizer, which is added at the rate of 1 billion tons per year, presently to the already existing amount of reactive nitrogen, nitrous oxide has become the third most important greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide and methane. It has a global warming potential of 296 times larger than an equal mass of carbon dioxide, and it also contributes to stratospheric ozone depletion. The use of fertilizers on a global scale emits significant quantities of greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. Thus, we have seen that even though chemical fertilizers offer a lot of advantages to the farmer, on the long run it is not sustainable and has a lot of detrimental effects on the yield produced and on the atmosphere and on the ecology. It is a more visible approach to slowly move from inorganic or chemical fertilizers into organic fertilizers for more sustainability and to maintain